Hello, good evening. It's News 360 coming to you live from the News Hub here at Sewah, Kanda. I am Portia Gabor.
And I am Martin Asiedu Dartey. Let's bring you the Easter holiday edition of News 360 Headlines.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
Coming up this evening, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources exposes what he describes as a well-organized criminal syndicate operating under the name of Akonta Mining Company Limited.
Ghana Armed Forces retrieves empty M16 rifle magazine, AK-47 rifle and G3 rifles during search operations in Boku.
Also coming up, Ghana's Cardinal Peter Appiah Turkson linked to succeed Pope Francis as the next Pope. Tonight, we examine his chances.
On the international front, the Vatican says Pope Francis died of stroke and heart failure. We have details of all these stories and many more coming up in the next 1 hour. Do stay with us.
Let's dive into it. This time around, we are starting from issues about illegal mining and gas. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources has exposed what he describes as a well-organized criminal organization, criminal syndicate, I should say, operating under the name of Akonta Mining Company Limited. Emmanuel Amakofiboa said although the company was legally granted a lease to mine off reserve, the company illegally invaded protected forest reserves in Samareboy enclave of the Western North region, selling access to the Aboy Forest Reserve for 300,000 Ghana cedis per concession.
We have uncovered involves Akonta Mining Company Limited, a company legally registered and granted a government lease to mine responsibly off reserve outside the forest.
In what has been described as one of the boldest moves yet in the fight against illegal mining, the government of Ghana has uncovered and disrupted a deeply entrenched illegal mining operation allegedly orchestrated by Akonta Mining Company Limited, a firm with a legitimate lease to mine off reserve but now accused of criminally abusing that privilege to destroy protected forest reserves.
The company, however, does not possess an entry permit into the forest reserve of the Samareboy enclave of the Western North region. Yet, investigations reveal that Akonta Mining has flagrantly abused this lease.
Although Akonta Mining had a legal lease to operate outside forest reserves, Minister Boy revealed the company had been operating illegally within the Samareboy enclave in the Western North region, specifically in protected areas of the Aboy and Tano Nimri forest reserves.
This company has not only trespassed into protected reserves, but has become a criminal syndicate, selling access of the Aboy Forest Reserve to illegal miners for a staggering 300,000 Ghana cedi per concession. Worse, these illegal miners operate under Akonta's protection, devastating the river Tano and surrounding forests with impunity. They have encroached compartments 49, compartment 121 of the Tanom Nimri Forest Reserve. We gathered a team of investigators to go undercover to make inquiries about the details of these operations. our undercover team uncovered a well-oiled machinery of destruction. One representative of Akunta Mining, i.e., is the liaison of these dealings. He serves as the gatekeeper, negotiating fees and granting illegal access. The concessions are then subleased to individuals like one Mr. Henry and another individual identified as Shak, who are to oversee the devastation of the Abois Forest Reserve and the Tano River.
The most damning revelations by the minister include sale of access to forest reserves of 300,000 Ghana cedis per concession to illegal miners, protection of illegal miners who, in turn, pay royalties of 250 grams of gold weekly to Akunta Mining.
As part of the agreement between Akunta Mining and the illegal miners, a weekly royalties of 250 grams of gold are to be paid to the company, lining the pockets of Akunta's collaborators. Another breakthrough revelation is that this criminal enterprise thrives because of the active collusion and connivance of some forestry officers and some security personnel. Here is how it works. Part of the 300,000 Ghana cedi fees goes to the Akunta Mining, a portion goes to Sahari and Shak and their cohorts, and another portion goes to the forestry and security officials, according to investigators.
Even more troubling was the discovery that the illegal operations flourished with the active connivance of some forestry officials and security personnel who took a portion of the illegal fees in return for protection and tip-offs. The corrupt network ensured that raids were avoided and enforcement weakened, making the destruction of forests and river bodies a smooth and uninterrupted business for Akunta and its agents, according to the minister.
These officers take a cut as a service charge in exchange for protection and tip-offs in the event of an impending raid.
The minister announced swift and decisive actions in the wake of the findings. Godwin Asiedu, TV3.
Let's go to Zoom now and engage the thoughts of Madam Aula Sewah, who is a coordinator for eco-conscious citizens. And if you've been following this development or issues regarding illegal mining in Ghana, you know that she's one of the critical voices of why we needed to take serious action in preserving our forest and water bodies. Madam, very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us and happy Easter to you.
Good evening. Christ is risen. Thank you for having me.
Right, to start with, this certainly must be good news, considering the fact that for months on end, you had been asking that some serious action be taken specifically against Akunta Mining because they have been in the news for all the wrong reasons. So how do you take this news coming from the minister?
Well, it's a very good news, I have to say. I mean, very good news. And I would like to say that you know that the convener of the Media Against Galamsey, Engineer Ken Ashikwi and Matipehu, have been for the longest time asking for accountability. Eco-conscious citizens and other CSOs actually took Akunta Mining to court regarding the alleged destruction of the Tano Forest Reserve. So it's a step in the right direction. We are hoping that very soon there will be prosecutions, and hopefully we'll have the right verdict and the law will take its course. But we are also hoping that the polluter pays principle will be applied so that all the ill-gotten wealth will be taken away from the directors of Akunta Mining if found guilty and used towards the cost of restoring the land and the rivers to its former state, because there needs to be serious accountability. You cannot just sit there poisoning Ghanaians and then nothing much happens to you. And if you might all remember, a while back, when Akunta Mining was in the news for the wrong reasons, the former president, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, told Ghanaians, and I quote what I can remember, that at this present time, Akunta Mining is not involved in illegal mining, when all the evidence pointed in another direction. So we thank God that we're now in 2025. This was in 2022, but still this is progress.
And I mean, so let's say that back then, the former president probably did not have enough evidence, for which reason he came out to quickly defend Akonta Mining, to say that, yes, they were a mining institution, but they were not mining in forest reserves. Now, the current minister seemed to have his feet on a stone with some evidence backing it. What are the immediate actions you'd want to see, you know, especially when it comes to this specific institution called the Akonta Mining?
Well, let me say that the evidence was always there. Whether we chose to see it or not was an entirely different matter. No new evidence has come up. This is exactly the same information we had a while back. And so it would seem that because their protectors are out of power, now action is being taken. So let us make it very clear here that whoever is involved in illegal mining, whether they are seen to belong to the past administration or to the current administration, we don't mind. Anybody who is involved in illegal mining should be held accountable, arrested, prosecuted, and hopefully the right verdict will come. So we are watching this very closely. We are expecting the directors to be called in, to be arrested, and we're expecting prosecutions. With the Chinese who were caught, we're expecting them to be prosecuted, not just deported. We want them to be prosecuted, if found guilty, serve their sentence, and then they can be deported. So we're watching this very, very closely. And I have to say that it's astonishing that for a very long time, the docket seemed to have disappeared. So it's a good thing that the docket has finally been found, and hopefully prosecutions will begin.
And finally, the bit about the minister saying that Forest Commission officers were also involved in this syndicate, security officers also involved in the operations of this syndicate. That must come as a surprise, or you are not entirely surprised, considering the evidence you probably must have had beforehand.
Well, we all know that the way for illegal mining to be going on the way it's going on, so many people are involved. So many people are involved, from the top to, you know, the police themselves, by not being forthcoming with the docket, because the evidence was there. People had been interviewed. I believe our brother Erastus Asare Donko had actually done a news story on it. So the evidence was there, but we chose not to do anything about it. So right now we commend the people who took part in the raid, but we hope that the proper thing will be done, and everybody who was involved, whether from the police, security officers, forestry officers, every single person who was involved, we need to have a proper investigation so that everybody who was involved will be charged and found, held accountable. If we do that, it will continue, because this is going on all over across our forest reserves, and that is why we have asked for a state of emergency to deal with what is going on, so that all our forest reserves, we can go there with the police, with the security forces, whether your army, your police, air force, navy, because we also have the water bodies, and rid them of all the environmental terrorists, because we are being poisoned. And you also pointed in the report, you'd see that farmlands are also being destroyed, and this is completely unacceptable. So we want to say well done, but it's a one little step, and we want to see more steps being taken. That we want to see LI 2462 revoked, not amended. We want to see a state of emergency, and we want to see a pause in mining, because you see, especially with small-scale mining, licenses were issued like confetti, and our monitoring regime is either non-existent or weak. Not just when it comes to mining, whether it's noise pollution, whether it's building, we don't enforce. So when you've issued so many mining licenses and you can't even monitor, it's a recipe for disaster. So until we get our act together, we should pause all these licenses.
Madam, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. Pleasure talking to you as always.
Thank you for having me.
Aula Sewah is the coordinator for Eco-Conscious Citizens.
Let's now go to the Upper East region, where the Ghana Armed Forces, in its efforts to assist civil authorities to maintain law and order in Boko and its environs, has intensified operations in response to ongoing clashes and intermittent gunfire in the area. As part of these efforts, troops have conducted a series of cordon and search operations aimed at restoring calm and enhancing security.
In the early hours of Monday, April 21, 2025, troops deployed at Binduri heard sporadic gunshots coming from the Binduri Central Market area. personnel swiftly moved to the location and cordoned off the area. According to the military statement, a combined team from the 11 Mechanized Battalion and the Joint Task Force supported by the police proceeded to conduct detailed search operations to identify and apprehend those involved. During the operation, one suspected gunman was arrested and handed over to the police. It said items retrieved during the search included one empty M16 rifle magazine, an AK-47 rifle, a G3 rifle, 370 rounds of M16 and AK-47 ammunition, 128 rounds of G3 ammunition, a machete, 4 fragmentation jackets, a pair of boots, and 1 helmet. Later in the day, some unknown gunmen tried to infiltrate Binduri, but military personnel on patrols prevented the infiltration. This led to an exchange of fire between the military and the unknown gunmen who fled the scene. The situation, according to the military, is currently under control and troops remain on high alert to respond to any emerging threats. The statement concluded that the Ghana Armed Forces, working closely with other security agencies, remain committed to safeguarding the peace and security of Boku, urging residents and the general public to support ongoing efforts to restore normalcy.
So watching News 360 on TV3. So let's go to that story that hit the entire country and the world in the very early hours of Easter Monday. And I'm sure by now all of you must have heard that Pope Francis has passed. And on the back of that, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Ghana has called on all bishops, priests, religious leaders and members across the country to unite in prayer and offer masses and moments of silence for the soul of their pontiff, Pope Francis. In a press statement issued and signed by the President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference, Most Reverend Matthew Kwesi Jemfi, the Bishops' Conference also announced a scheduled National Memorial Mass at a later date in coordination with Archbishop Henryk Jagondziski, the Apostolic Nuncio to Ghana. As a result, all dioceses and parishes across Ghana are encouraged to organize local requiem masses and prayer services within the octave, which is 8 days following this announcement. Against, I beg your pardon, again, the Catholic institutions, schools and organizations are requested to fly the Vatican flag at half-mast until the burial of Pope Francis as a sign of reverence and mourning. According to the Catholic Bishops' Conference, Pope Francis led the universal church with profound humility, compassion, and a relentless dedication to justice.
Let me now take you through what happens after the death of a pope. Now, after the death of a pope, his funeral will take place a maximum of 6 days later, during which his body will lie in state in St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. Now, the conclave, where cardinals gather in the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican, will choose a successor, and this will not happen for at least 15 days from the day of his passing. The Vatican Chamberlain, currently Cardinal Kevin Farrell, will first certify officially the death of the Pope by calling his name 3 times at his bedside. Then the Pope's office and private apartment will be sealed, and the papal fisherman's ring will be removed from his finger and broken with a hammer. His body will then be dressed in red robes with a white mitre on his head, and he will be taken to St. Peter's Basilica to lie in state for 3 days and is requested to be buried in a simple wooden casket. So this is what officially happens after the death of the Pope. Now, there are many questions about who will be his successor. So let's go back to the touch screen and I'll explain shortly what will happen after the death of the Pope in choosing his successor. Well, before that, let's go on Zoom and speak to Reverend Father Michael Kweku, who is Director of Governance, Justice and Peace of the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference and Catholic Chaplain to Parliament. Reverend Father, thank you so much for your time. First of all, our condolences to the Catholic Bishops' Conference and the Catholic community on the passing on of the late Pope.
Thank you very much, and may the soul of our late Holy Father, through the mercy of God, rest in peace.
Many names have come up after the passing on of the Pope and choosing the 267th Pope. What are you reading from the papal community regarding Pope Francis's successor, and who are currently the front runners?
Well, when such events happen, sadly, we have those pundits who make predictions based on the visibility of various princes of the church, cardinals, and various names, come up. Not least our own dear Father Peter Cardinal Kujapia Texan and Cardinal Tagle, and who is the prefect, pro-prefect in charge of evangelization. The current Cardinal Secretary of State, Cardinal Caroline, has been mentioned, but I must stress that all of these are just names which are being bandied around, not that these are in themselves, going about lobbying. I think it's more a question of visibility than anybody vying for any of these positions.
Now, a lot of names have come up, like you said, our own Cardinal Apia Texan. Now, Africa is home to over 200 million Catholics. What will it mean for an African to be elected Pope?
Well, I personally think that for a Catholic, for a Christian, what any of us must be worrying about and praying for must be a man who is after God's own heart, who is willing and ready to remain faithful to the truth of God as revealed in Scripture and in sacred tradition, and which is handed down to us through the authentic magisterium of the church. But of course, as human beings, if one of our own was chosen, then the normal human response would be that of elation and joy. But my personal vision for this position should be what I think what the church always has, that it should be one who, because he is faithful to the revealed truth of God, as I said, through Scripture and tradition, is going to be one who leads God's flock according to his own designs and plan for the world. So if the one who is chosen is from Ghana, well and good. Chosen from Africa, I'll be very happy. But I would rather one who was faithful to the revealed truth of God.
Before you go, what makes Cardinal Apia Texan a strong contender?
Well, once a priest has been chosen to the high position of a bishop, you must expect that the person has distinguished themselves. And if the same man has been personally handpicked under the instructions of the Pope to become a cardinal, then they must be outstanding indeed. So as a general rule, everyone who is chosen to be a cardinal must be one who, if it is with the will of God, could take up this highest honor of taking the Petrine See. But for Cardinal Texan, everybody who has met him knows his intellectual aptitude, which is outstanding. His moral standing is without question, and he himself is a man whose personal motto, as a bishop tells a lot. In Latin, what he has is vivere Christus est. For him, it means that to live is Christ. So this is a man who understands his life as having meaning only because of Christ. So he lives and moves and has his being through Christ. And therefore, he will live and act only for the will, the design, and the fashion of Christ. So for me, that is the most qualifying attributes of him, the fact that he wants to live with, through, and for Christ. And for me, that should be the biggest qualification of any man or woman who wants to be a leader of God's people.
Thank you so much for your time. And Reverend Father Michael Kweku, Director of Governance, Justice and Peace, Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference. Let me now take you through how Pope Francis' successor will be elected. So the College of Cardinals will meet in Rome to choose a successor to Pope Francis, and the conclave will follow precise rules where only cardinals aged under 80 are allowed to vote. Now, of the 252 living cardinals, 138 are under 80 and therefore eligible to vote in the conclave. So we have 16 cardinals in North America who will be voting, 4 in Central America, 18 in South America, 18 in Africa, 54 in Europe, 24 in Asia, and 4 in Oceania. And the cardinals are locked inside the chapel without electronic devices or newspapers, and each of them will secretly file the name of their preferred candidate in order of seniority, and then they walk to the altar, and then they will cast their vote, and the ballot will be counted, votes will be tallied, and then they are then burned. If there's a white smoke that emerges, it means that a pope has been elected. A black signal or smoke emitting will signal that there has been failure and the process will begin again.
And a lot of conversations have been ongoing following the passing of Pope Francis. And we know that a number of world leaders, including our very own John Dramani Mahama, have been sharing or pouring their tributes to the late Pope. So Ghana's President John Mahama says he is saddened by the news of Pope Francis's passing. He extends his heartfelt condolence to the Catholic Church in Ghana and across the world. He says the Pope's legacy of compassion, humility, and commitment to social justice will continue to inspire generations. The Chair of ECOWAS and President of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, says he joins Catholics all over the world to mourn the passing of His Holiness. He describes the Pope as a humble servant of God, tireless champion of the poor, and guiding light for millions. And that's what he said in his tweet. Former U.S. President Barack Obama says he has also joined millions to pay tribute to the Pope, as he describes him as a rare leader who made us want to be better people. He spoke of the Pope's humility expressed in simple gestures like embracing the sick and washing the feet of young prisoners. CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, joined the world in mourning Pope Francis today, and he said the Pope lived a life of extraordinary grace and deep compassion. Ursula von der Leyen, who is the president of the European Union, says Pope Francis inspired millions far beyond the Catholic Church. He did this with a humility and pure love for the less fortunate in society. France President Emmanuel Macron sends his thoughts to all Catholics on the passing of Pope Francis, and he says, may the Pope's hope to unite people with one another and with nature be reborn endlessly beyond him. And U.S. President Donald Trump also put out a message of condolence and actually asked that U.S. flags fly at half-mast. So yeah, that's his post, and he says he's also paying tribute to Pope Francis by ordering all U.S. flags throughout the states and other facilities abroad be flown at half-mast until sunset of the day of the Pope's interment. So it gives you an idea clearly how far-reaching the impact of the Pope has been and what many expect to see in the coming days as we await to see the processes leading to who the next Pope will be. Still watching News 360 on TV3. Well, in a related development, though, the death of Pope Francis has sent ripples across the global Catholic community, and in Ghana, the faithful are remembering his humility and deep concern for the poor and marginalized. Noble Crosby Annan spoke to some priests and on how Ghanaian Catholics are responding to the news of his passing.
The world is mourning the loss of Pope Francis, who passed away at the age of 88. He led the Catholic Church for over 12 years, championing humility, social justice and outreach to the marginalized. Here in Ghana, a nation with a vibrant Catholic community, his teachings and leadership have left a profound impact.
We look at him as the Pope of the poor. God is not only for the rich people, it's also for the poor people. It's very clear in his teachings. We are certainly going to miss him.
I should say kind of mixed feelings, because fine, our Pope is dead. We are human beings, so the sadness will come in. But also some moments of joy because of the season that it has happened. That is Easter. That reminds us that death, could not conquer the world. So although the Pope is dead and gone, we are sure that he is gone to his maker, who entrusted this huge task to him. But I remember the Pope for some of his stands on, number one, for instance, the poor. He was the Pope for the poor and then the marginalized. He's one of the popes that really spoke for the poor in favor of them, asking that the world should at least embrace all of them. And secondly, he also stands on nature, the environment. And especially for us as Ghanaians, he wrote an encyclical called Radiotherapy that called for a care of the environment. And for us Ghanaians with Galamsey, I think it is something that we should also be grateful to him for.
He's been in and out of hospital. We knew that he wasn't well, but the news still hit like a bullet. I'm very sad that he had to leave us this way, but what can we do? That's God's will, so we take it like that. I saw a man who was very human. All he taught, all he preached showed that, we have to be merciful. We have to look at the other side. We don't have to be judgmental.
We console ourselves the fact that at least there is a heavenly call. A heavenly Father has called him to have rest. He has done so many things for the church. When you look at his homilies, the exhortations and whatnot, and yearly messages that he gives, it encourages us. And if we walk through it, it will be very good.
May his soul rest in peace. You're watching News 360 live from the News Hub here at Adisa Wikanda. We have more news coming up shortly. Don't go away.
I love President Charcoal. Why? When there are so many other charcoal toothpaste. That's both charcoal and lemon. Oh, does it? Yes. Look right here.
More stories now. Many patients battling cancer are bearing the brunt of the frequent breakdown of the radiotherapy machine at the country's two major cancer treatment centers, the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital and the Kofi Anokye Teaching Hospital. The situation has delayed many patients from accessing life-saving radiotherapy treatment. A report by Portia, Gabor.
I had my surgery in August, and until now, I have not had radiotherapy. And from what I've read and what I've heard from oncologists, radiotherapy should be done at most within 6 months. I'm in my 8th month, and I have not had radiotherapy yet. Not because I'm not ready for it, but the machine keeps breaking down at Korle Bu, and Kofi Anokye too happens to be the same. So here I am, willing to fight, but the system is not helping me.
This is the frustration of Rukmini Ajete, a patient fighting cancer. According to the National Cancer Institute, radiotherapy is a cancer treatment that uses high doses of radiation to kill cancer cells and shrink tumors. Ghana has about 2 of such machines, one at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital in Accra and the other at the Kofi Anokye Teaching Hospital in Kumasi. One private healthcare facility also has the machine. But the challenge is the machines at both Kofi Anokye and Korle Bu frequently breaking down, leaving many cancer patients stranded.
I am to pay 13,650 at Korle Bu. But as it stands now, I can't even do it at Korle Bu. I'm doing it at Sweden, Ghana, possibly, if I get that fund. And Sweden, Ghana is charging me 37,500 cedis, which is 3 times what I would have paid at Korle Bu if the system was working.
When you bring tumor, na ya course treatment na manaba be do radiotherapy almost 4 months.
My granddaughter has a brain tumor. We started a treatment and have to undergo radiotherapy. But for 4 months, the machine keeps breaking down. I'm appealing to government to either service or get Korle Bu a new machine. Even if the machine is fixed today, Rukmini may not still access the crucial treatments.
Already now, there's some nipple discharge. I'm told that there are some unusual cells developing. So I got scared. And the doctor told me point blank, I was like, Rukmini, our hands are tied. We wish we could do so much, but as you know, the machine is breaking down. And even as I speak to you, it's broken down. And even when they fix it, the backlog is much. But the truth is, cancer does not wait.
Dr. Bewa Osebunso is a consultant clinical radiation oncologist at the National Radiotherapy and Nuclear Medicine Unit's Oncology Directorate at the Kofi Anokye Teaching Hospital. Every year, the center receives around 850 to 1,200 new cancer cases with 16 to 20,000 patient visits.
For all cancer patients, about 60% of them will require radiotherapy at a point in time of the management of their cancer. So radiotherapy is a very important aspect of the management. The challenge we're having now is a frequent breakdown of our machine because it's only one machine. And when it does, you need to wait until it's been fixed. And like I keep saying that treating cancer is like killing a snake. Once you initiate the action, go and make sure you kill it. Now, if you don't kill it and it gets back to bite you, it bites with a lot of venom.
Efforts to get a response from the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital were unsuccessful. Last year, the situation was dire, compelling oncologists at the Kofi Anokye Teaching Hospital to withdraw their services.
We are receiving referrals from 12 of the 16 regions of the country. And this is the only radiotherapy center in the northern sector of the country. So it's like every 10 million people have access to one machine. When the International Atomic Energy Agency feels that about every million people should have access to one treatment machine. And then when the machine breaks down, the engineers need to work on it. They may require a part. which is imported. And when that happens, it could take any time for you to get the part fixed. And all these patients are waiting. It's not the best. For me, to run a center effectively, one shouldn't think about having only one machine, at least two.
Now, cancer patients like Rukmini are making a passionate appeal to health authorities to immediately bring permanent solution to the unending problem of the frequent breakdown of the radiotherapy machines at the Konfanochi and Kolebu teaching hospitals. Portia, Gabor, TV3 News, Accra.
We have more news coming up shortly. Don't go away.
Welcome back to News 360. Let's do some sports now. And for a remarkable 25 years, he has been the electrifying voice behind the Ashanti Region Inter-Schools and Colleges Athletics Competition, popularly known as SUZO. Tonight, we pay tribute to the man who turned the microphone into a megaphone of joy and adrenaline. As he prepares to hang up his mic for the final time, we reflect on the legacy of a true icon.
In the world of Ashanti Region Schools and College Athletics, one name echoes with unmatched excitement, passion, and energy. Henry Appiah Mankwa, fondly known as Asiedu.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are just about to witness the final event of the year 2025 Super Duper Zonals.
Year after year, Asiedu has been the heart of the Super Zonals. His unmatched energy, colorful commentary, and signature catchphrases have transformed ordinary races into unforgettable spectacles.
The job was being done by Coach Kofi and Coach Amuzu. And when I was in the secondary school, Opokuwari, always I ran to the stadium without taking an exit to sit by them because I just loved the job. So when I completed Opokuwari, I was walking in town around Waek, and I met Coach Kofi. And he held my hand and told me that I need you like hell. So come and see me at the sports stadium. The following week, I came around and met them. I met him and Coach Amuzu. And then he told me that he wants to go, or he wanted to go on retirement around that time. So when he goes, he had wanted to bequeath the job to me. So I just sat by them and studied them.
For many students, SUZO isn't just about athletics, it's about the vibe, the voice, and the magic Asiedu brings. We spoke to a few of them about what his presence has meant to them over the years.
He literally does everything right. The way he hypes the students, like seriously, it electrifies the athletes and they are motivated to do what they are supposed to do with more vim.
To be sincere, it makes the thing too exciting. Even people from other schools wants to join Amas for the celebration.
How the guy does it, it adds a different flair of energy to the athletes. Like when you say Amasphobia, it makes the students like get into the mood, the athletes get into their flair to finish the race for their school.
You know, Amas, we always have a different crowd in the stands because we are closer to the stadium. So we will always have the population there. So whenever he mentions the school's name, we even see the athletes take the race to a different level. And the stands to, when the athletes produce the results, we also get excited. So that's when we also, bring out our cheerful, experience to them.
Asiedu, a man who turned passion into purpose and commentary into an art form.
Next year, I'll go on retirement at the GS, Ghana Education Service, because I'll turn 60. So when I go on retirement, I'll still come and render a helping hand to them.
His voice may fade from the speakers, but his legacy will echo forever in the hearts of SUZO fans.
Well, that's it for sports on News 360. We have entertainment right after this. Well, time now. It's a special Easter Day edition of News 362.
Noella is here with the latest in entertainment.
Yes.
How was your holiday?
Well, it was a good one. Very, very powerful. And we have some updates in entertainment as well. I'll give you all the details on the back on that one. But let's get into some entertainment news here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko, and contestants of the Kids reality show Talented Kids never cease to amaze. Now, the fired up kids were delighted to watch as they staged remarkable performances dedicated to the crucifixion and the resurrection of Christ. Now, as performances rounded up, Ohima Paris was adjudged the best performer for the week 9.
Dedicated to the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ, the contestants beautifully captured the essence of Easter through their performances. As always, participants took turns pulling viewers into their unique worlds of talent and creativity.
Jesus' final moment on the cross. Its body broken, bleeding and lost. Nailed to the wood, a crown of thorns. As darkness falls and faith transforms, its cries of anguish fill the air, as soldiers mock and onlookers stare. But through its pain,
the 2Gs were simply unstoppable, a dynamic duo that lit up the stage. Then came the emotional moment, the announcement of the contestants who had to say goodbye. Sadly, Diamond X Music and Beat Monsters were up for eviction.
Are we seeing him next week?
Unfortunately not, even though you've been shining so brightly, my Diamond X. But keep on, don't give up, just keep at it.
I really would have hoped that you progress to the next level. Unfortunately, today marks the end for you two.
In the end, it was Ohima Perez who took home the Star Performer Award for week 9 of the competition.
Well, we keep telling you to vote for your favorite contestant, and so if you don't want them to be evicted, make sure that you are dialing *713*13 hash, and then you're voting for your favorite contestant. And that's it for the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko.
Thank you so much, Noella. Coming up, international news.
The Vatican confirmed that the cause of the death of Pope Francis was a stroke followed by an irreversible heart failure, as stated in the official death certificate released by Vatican doctor Andrea Arcangeli. His death was announced by Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Camerlengo of the Holy Roman Church, in a broadcast by Vatican media. The announcement marked the beginning of the traditional papal interregnum, a period of mourning and preparation for the election of a new pope. Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, served as the 266th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church since his election, March 13, 2013. He was the first Jesuit Pope, the first from Latin America, and the first non-European pontiff in over a millennium. His papacy was noted for its emphasis on humility, social justice, environmental stewardship, and efforts to reform the Church. He was also recognized for his outreach to marginalized communities and his commitment to interfaith dialogue. Tributes have poured in from around the world, with leaders and faithful honoring his legacy and contribution to the Church and global community. Pope Francis said he wishes to be buried in Rome's Basilica of St. Mary Major and without particular decoration. A senior Palestinian official familiar with Israel-Hamas ceasefire negotiations has said that Qatari and Egyptian mediators have proposed a new formula to end the war in Gaza.
And that's how we bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you very much for spending the evening of your Easter Monday with us. Enjoy what's left of it. I am Martin Asiedu Dartey.
And I am Portia. Gabor, the sports station at 9 p.m. as well as Ghana Tonight with Alfredo Cancer at 10 p.m. Good evening.